Hi, everybody. I am back. I got finished with what I was doing a little early and decided I would do two more of these Facebook Lives leading up to my March 16th seminar in Atlanta. That information is available on the link that's attached to this Facebook Live. And I'm going to tell you at the beginning, and I'll say it at the end for those who join a bit later. There's an offer for the first 20 people to get free consultation. Those that sign up for the seminar, the first 20, and we have 8 more slots available. So if you're planning on coming to the seminar in Atlanta and you just haven't registered yet, you might want to do that so you can get one of those 20 slots, because people take advantage of that free consultation and it really gives them a boost. So this is number 5 out of 5 so far talks that I put together. And the special thing about tomorrow, which is the last one, is that I'm going to let you guys decide what you want me to talk about. Now, it has to be something I know. Can't be about rocket science because I don't know about that. But if you guys post a topic in that interactive area, then I'll look at those and tally those up to see which one has the most votes. Today, though, we're going to talk about investing, and specifically 5 of the questions that you need to ask before investing in anything. Now, I have gone to lots of conferences, and a lot of them have to do with investing. People, I see them go to these conferences, and there's always this slick guy. He has an Italian suit on and some snake skin shoes and all that, and he's really good at speaking, and he's really good at persuading, and he talks really good about this particular investment, whatever it is. And by the end of the day, the people are really throwing their wallets at him. But what they need to do is sit back and ask some questions. In my book, How to Escape the Rat Race, 4 Keys to Acquire the Life of Your Dreams, I have several questions in there concerning investment. But for the sake of time, today we are going to explore 5 of the questions that you need to ask before investing in just about anything. So let's get started on that. Number 1 question: what is it that's being offered? In other words, what is the product? If the presenter of this investment cannot explain what this product or service is in detail, then you automatically have a problem. I attended a big 5-day conference, actually it was a 7-day conference in Cancun before, and there were a lot of investments presented. And on one of the investments, there was about 50 people in the room because it was a breakout session. There were like between 500 and 800 people at the conference, but they had little breakout sessions, and each person got a chance to go into little rooms and talk about different investments. So I went in a particular room to hear about an investment. About 50 other people in the room, and at the back of the room, there was this guy. He was sitting all the way in the back. He had taken an extra chair. He had put his feet up in the chair and taken his sandals off, and he was just kicked back in this chair, and everybody was looking back at him like, what in the world is he doing? He had on a pair of shorts, and he was just kicked back, like picking his teeth. So the woman got up there, and she started presenting this investment. She did an okay job on it. But at the end, she asked, were there any questions? This guy at the back evidently had some knowledge about that particular product, and he grilled her, and she did not have the answers to those questions. And I felt bad for her. I know she felt like getting up under the table, because by the time he finished with her, she was red. And needless to say, nobody invested in that because he ran her up the pole and down the other side. She did not know her product. So you need to know, what is the product? What are you being asked to invest in? That's the first question. The next question is, why do they need my money? So that's a question that's really important, because you want to know why are they coming to you for money? There are a lot of different reasons why people will come with a product or service for your money. Sometimes they really don't need the money. Sometimes they're just trying to put a little money aside so that they can continue their research and development. Sometimes they've squandered all of the money that they've had and they're trying to get more. So you really have to get a good answer to why, and they don't know how to answer it a lot of times. That question takes them by surprise when it's asked, but then when they really think about it, the ones that are serious and have a serious product, they'll be able to explain it. For example, let's say if they need the money for research and development, there are products that are out there that your government doesn't want to come to the market, especially if they're in the healing arena. But these products need to be tested, and a lot of times they're tested offshore because they don't want them to be destroyed or disappear or anything like that here. So they need money to do some more research and development on products that are supposed to be healthy for us as opposed to the pharmaceuticals. That's one good reason that somebody would need the money. Also, in the same vein, if there's a product that needs to be built, they'll need the money. One of the investments that was at one of the conferences was a team of people that had found a sunken ship that was supposed to have a lot of treasure on it. And recently, within the last maybe 8 months on Netflix, I saw, it wasn't the same ship, but I saw a whole documentary about people that had gotten some money together to invest. They gotten some wealthy people and said, hey, we've gone and we did the sonar and we found this ship and there's some things down there. So they got these people to invest and they came up with some beautiful things. And they were very old back in, they were from the Orient back in the 1800s. Beautiful. But anyway, it was an investment like that. And they need money to pay the people, the divers, get them equipment, all those things. So there are reasons, but you want to find out why they need your money. Third question that I'm going to go over is, do they make money even when you don't? That's a problem. I don't invest in stocks and stuff like that because the stockbroker basically was making me broker and broker. Every time there was a trade, they made money. But I didn't necessarily make money every time there was a trade. So you have to know whether or not the person or the company is going to make money when you're not making money. I don't want a situation where the company's making money and I'm not making money. Insurance brokers, stocks, bonds. There are a lot of books coming out lately about how the insurance companies have come together with the annuity companies and all that, and they formed this unholy union where they're taking advantage of a whole bunch of elderly people by selling these products that they really don't need and are not good for them. So don't invest in anything unless you know that that person that's trying to get you to get it is not making money when you're not making money. Next one, how much money does the presenter personally have invested in the product? I remember a story a long time ago about somebody that was running around selling ties and had a great presentation selling ties, and then one person asked, well, what kind of tie is that you're wearing? And it wasn't the tie they were selling, which didn't make any sense to me. I had an uncle that loved Corvettes, but he worked for a different company. So he could not drive the Corvette because he was high up in management and they wouldn't let him drive the Corvette because that wouldn't have looked good. I understand that. So how much money does the presenter have invested? You had that first example of the lady that didn't know what she was talking about, but then there's another example of a guy that invented something. The way I describe it, because I'm not an engineer, it was a large turbine, maybe the size of half an SUV, but it would power like 5 houses. And this man spent his life building this. So he had everything invested in it. And he was very passionate about it. And although that investment was like $50,000 and I couldn't invest in it, I would have invested in it because I knew that he was going to bring that thing to fruition. So if it's somebody that's deeply involved in it, that is heavily invested in it, they're going to do a better job of presenting, and they're more credible. Next question. What is the company's background? In other words, how long has it been in business? Now, I'm going to go after this in two ways. There are companies out there that are brand new. They have a half-cocked idea, and then they want you to invest in it. And I've seen so many people, some of my clients even, get caught up in investing in something that a friend or family member told them to invest in, a friend of a friend's business, and they didn't have all their ducks in a row. So you have to figure out the company's background. Is it a new company? Do they have, it could be a new company, but they could have people that have years and years of experience, and that's okay. But if it's a brand new company and they're just getting their feet wet, I would step back from investing in something like that until they've proven themselves. The short that I have written down here, the shorter the amount of time a company has been in business, the riskier the investment. New companies need to work out their glitches. You all know about glitches. Before you invest a substantial amount of money, they need to earn their trust by growing and by growing profits. Make sure that when you ask this question, the answer includes only the amount of time the company existed in its current state. Now, this is important also, because I've heard presenters give longer existences. We've been around for 5 years, we've been around for 10 years, but the company started out with another name, burned and crashed, and then reopened. That doesn't count. that doesn't count. So make sure you're getting a time frame from them for the existing company, because you don't want to get involved in something that has a checkered past and lose money. So the questions: what's being offered? In other words, what's the product? Why do they need my money? Is number 2. Do they make money when I don't make money? Is number 3. How much money does the presenter personally have invested in that product? Is number 4. The 5th question: what is the company background? In other words, how long has it been in business? Now, some of you aren't at the level where you're investing in something that's that large. I mean, investments come across my desk from $5,000 to $50,000 on a regular basis. And although I'm not investing that way right now because I'm totally engulfed in my Costa Rica project, then I look over these investments. I just had one come across the desk that was $5,000 was the minimum, $50,000 was the preferred. It was a decent investment, and maybe one day I'll do that one. But I asked those questions, and I'm still waiting on some of the answers. Some of the answers were given, but I let them know up front that I wasn't going to invest in that right now. But we as consumers, and we as people that have money that we need to do something tangible with, need to take these steps. What I hate to see is people get a windfall. Let's say they get $10,000 or $50,000, and then they're so eager. You know, they used to tell, the older people used to say that we had holes in our pockets, or our pockets were burning. They want to do something with the money, and that's fine. But I would actually get counsel and people come to me about that. If I were not aware of how to handle investments, I would go to somebody that knows how to handle investments. I can't talk specifically about any investment because I don't have a license. That's one of those things in the United States that they want you to have a license for. So you have to be a licensed broker or investment to offer investments and whatnot. We have a division of the government or quasi-government called the Securities and Exchange Commission. And the SEC makes all these rules about investments and what's an investment and who can participate. Now, let me tell you something about the SEC. They have a designation called the accredited investor. And this is one of the reasons why rich people keep getting richer and poor and middle class people continue to suffer. Because if you're not an accredited investor, there are certain investments that a stockbroker cannot tell you about. So an accredited investor is somebody that has $1 million net worth and their annual income is $200,000 if they're single and $300,000 if they're married. So if you don't fit that criteria, you're not an accredited investor. So sometimes when you listen to larger radio stations, you'll hear somebody talking about an investment, and then you have a lawyer at the end saying really fast, accredited investors only. So that means if Joe Blow, the stockbroker, has 2 meetings, and he's meeting with Sally at noon, and he's meeting with Bobby at 2, and Sally comes in and she makes $75,000, he'll find out because you have to fill out a questionnaire. So he's gonna have Sally fill out a questionnaire, and she's gonna put down she makes $75,000 and she has a house that's $100,000 and all that. Well, when he reads over that, he's only going to be able to tell Sally about stocks, bonds, IRAs, mutual funds, and those things, those in the box things that don't really make any money. But then when Bobby comes in and Bobby has $1.2 million net worth and Bobby makes $750,000 a year, he's not going to mention the stuff that he talked to Sally about. He's going to talk about other things like IPOs and all kinds of other investments that Bobby is going to be able to invest in. So that's why there's that gap and that growing gap between the rich and the poor. So I'm not really happy about the Securities and Exchange Commission. I was on a flight once, and I sat next to people ask questions or what do you do or whatever. I don't. But he said he worked for the SEC, and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, first of all, I want you to know that I'm familiar with the accredited investor. So I am a financial expert, and let's say for the sake of argument, my uncle left me $750,000. You're saying that I can't find out about those larger investments because I don't have $1 million net worth. And basically his answer was, well, the SEC thinks you're too stupid to invest your money in something like that on a higher level. So they limit what regular average everyday people get to invest in. So I think that's wrong on so many different levels. So when it comes to investing, as I've stated before to you guys, investing in hard assets is what I invest in. I do not invest in IRAs, 401ks, mutual funds. Some of you all like the stock market. Some people try to make money in the stock market, and after September 29, 2008, not happening for me. I didn't do it before then, but especially then. But there's a video out there, and it's 60 Minutes. You know that show 60 Minutes that's been around since I was a toddler? There's a guy on there that exposes the fact that the stock market is rigged. He's an Asian guy out of Canada. So I'm hoping that's still on there if you go and go into the internet and look up 60 Minutes episode about the stock market being rigged. I think stock market and rigged is in the title. Look at that. Okay. Now, okay, so I'm going to look at some questions down here and see if there are any questions about this investing before I start tallying up the subjects. Okay, hi there. Hi, Tina. Okay, I don't see any questions. Am I in the wrong area? Let's see. I don't see any questions. I may be doing something wrong, guys. I don't know. I don't want to cut you off. Let's see if I can click this and get a question. Nope. Nobody has any questions about investing. Okay, so now I would like everybody to write a subject. Those of you that are still on here, write down subjects that you want me to talk about tomorrow. So I want it to be really, really impactful tomorrow since it's the last one. And I want to talk about whatever subjects that you all pick. I talked about taxes a little bit already. That could be a topic because I know that garnered a lot of questions. But if you want to talk about that, if you want to talk more about investing, you want to talk about getting international real estate, like buying the property in Costa Rica, which is exciting to me because I have another place to go just in case the excrement hits the portable cooling device in the United States. So let's see. Okay. I do not have a reputable source to purchase silver. I did. And if you email me later, I'll try to see if I can get in contact with that person. But it's been a really, really long time since I've contacted that person. I have a lot of silver and I haven't gotten any in a while. So if you email me, my email is sherrypeeljackson@gmail.com, then I will try to see if I can find that person for the silver. I've been concentrating on gold more so than silver, but I wish I did have somebody. Let's see if there are any other questions. Okay. So I got a vote for why people should start a business right now in 2019. So far that's gonna be the topic for tomorrow. Okay. LLC taxes and S corporations. I like to have smaller businesses stay a sole proprietor until they start making a lot of money or until they get employees. When you are an employee, you no longer, I mean, when you get employees, you no longer want to be a sole proprietor because your liability goes up when you're having people work for you. So if you're a sole proprietor and you've hired somebody and you send them to Staples to get some paper or some paper clips and they have an accident, then that if it's their fault, and even if it's not, you could be sued because you had that person out on an errand. So a corporation, being a separate entity, is the best way to handle it once you get an employees. But corporate tax returns are complicated, they cost a lot, and you might not want to go that route when you're small. So, oh, there's another one. Okay, this one is about traveling in your vehicle. Okay, that's interesting. If you are living, like if you live in an RV, there are different ways to take the deductions on that one. That would be something I'd have to research. But any of the mileage when you're driving to business related activities, then that's business mileage. Not sure about the living part. I would off the cuff think that, you can write off part of it because if your office is in there, and remember we talked about having an office and having that be specifically used for an office. What's a lot of money? A lot of money is relative. So Warren Buffett is going to think a lot of money is something different than I'm going to think a lot of money is. So it's up to you what a lot of money is. One of the Rockefellers was asked how much is too much. How much do you need? He said something like a little bit more. So it's just it's relative. What I would say is to be comfortable. In other words, let's say for the sake of argument right now you have $130,000 in debt. Enough money would be for you to be able to not only pay off the $130,000 in debt, but have more money to acquire assets that will make you money so that you won't have to continue to work for money. Once you start making money, what to do to turn it into real money? Buy hard assets. Because when you buy hard assets, they're going to make you money. So most of the wealthy people that I know have lots of real estate and they're sitting on gold just as a hedge of protection, but they buy assets that make them money. And maybe you can't get real estate right now, but buying something that's going to be able to make you money in the long run is what to do when you start making money. Not going and buying brand new cars and going to needless markup and all that stuff like that. Don't waste money like that. I know a lot of people didn't have a lot. I grew up partially in Detroit and partially on the east side of Detroit, not the west, east side, Van Dyke and Harper. Hey, and partially on the east side of Atlanta. And we were okay. We were lower middle class. But one of the things I learned is delayed gratification. If I get the things that I want now and get into debt, then I'm not going to ever be able to dig out of that hole. And that's what society wants you to stay in, that debt hole. That's why you got all these commercials out here on the television trying to get you to buy all this stuff and look a certain way. And we got to stop falling into that trap. We really do. But getting hard assets, living in a smaller house, driving a smaller car, and getting hard assets in the future, then you'll be able to do the things you need to do. Okay, I'm coming up with some nice subjects for tomorrow. 3 things you can do as a home-based business while you still have a job. That's a really good one too. I think I like that one better. How do you choose an LLC business name, especially if you will have multiple DBAs under it? I have done that before, and what I did with the umbrella business was do blank blank enterprises, because blank blank enterprises had other little businesses under it. So I like that. And so find something that says whatever enterprises, and if you're going to do enterprises LLC, do that. Now remember, an LLC can be a sole proprietorship, a partnership, or a corporation. People don't understand that. When I ask people, what kind of business do you have? They say, I have an LLC. It's like, okay, so what kind of LLC? And then they draw this blank. It's like, okay, an LLC is not a corporation unless you file certain paperwork. An LLC is automatically a partnership if there are 2 people participating. An LLC is automatically a sole proprietorship if you have 1 person. So just remember that when you talk about LLCs. Don't understand that question. I think I'm at a loss. What's to would choose that? I'm not getting that one. Sorry. Okay, so when I said stay with your LLC, sole proprietorship LLC, until basically I like it until you get employees, or until the tax rate is going to throw you off. So the individual tax rates go up more than corporate tax rates. So if you're at an individual tax rate and you're starting to make, let's say, $500,000, maybe a little bit less, $300,000, then you need to look at what the difference would be if you have a corporation. Now, with a corporation, you're going to have to pay yourself a salary. You have to. And so then you're going to have payroll taxes. Now, when you have your sole proprietorship, you don't have to do all that. It's just whatever you have as a net income at the end, that's what you pay tax on. So there's more responsibilities with the corporation, but at some point, there's going to be a tipping point where the tax rates are going to be more beneficial as a corporation, even if you don't have employees. Okay. Are there any more questions before we decide what we're going to talk about tomorrow? See, I talk about all of these. A lot of the things that I'm talking about they're not cookie cutter. In other words, I'm trying to be as general as possible right now, but most of the time, these questions that you guys have to do with you and where you are. So if I answer that question for Jody, it might have a different answer for Gary based on where they are. So remember that when I'm answering questions. So usually when people start asking questions, then I have 5 or 6 questions to ask them before answering the question, because I need to see where they are. Do they already have a business? If so, how long has it been in business, and how is it structured now? Where do you do business? What is the business? Because some businesses are higher risk and they automatically need to be a corporation. I've had clients that were sole proprietorships, and when I found out what they were doing, I automatically had them switch to a corporation because they were a high risk business. All right. It says I have a new comment down here. Is starting a 501c3 a smart idea, like a church or foundation? Depends on what you want to do. Now, I don't want to get on my soapbox, but you asked the question. I don't like churches to be 501c3s because a 501c3 incorporated church puts the government above God, and you can't talk about what you want to talk about that's in the Bible because it's politically incorrect. And there are literally court cases out there that say if you're a 501c3 and incorporated, you can't say and do certain things because you submitted your church. There's a website out there called hushmoney.org, and he's written a book called In Caesar's Grip, and he talks about how all these churches, now a lot of churches just did it because the lawyer told them. They don't know any better. But when you have a 501c3, then you're subservient to the government, and there are court cases to prove that, where churches tried to do certain things and the state told them they couldn't do it, and the church said, you can't tell us what to do, we're the church. And then in one of the particular cases, the judge pulled the pastor in his office, took off his robe, asked him some questions, and long story short, the pastor realized, hey, I really messed up when we incorporated. But if you want to raise money, it's hard for a church to get money anyway. But if you want to raise money for, let's say, at-risk children and things like that, you could start a 501c3, and foundations will give you money. They will. So I don't like the church being a 501c3, but if you want a real nonprofit organization and you want to collect money from foundations and corporations and all that, they want you to be a 501c3. It's okay. And I know several of those. Yes, I like starting businesses, getting the entire family involved. And I have several of my family members that help in this business, and they're a really big help. And a lot of times it's easier to have family members because they have your best interest at heart. You don't have to worry about them doing something just to get a paycheck. My family members that work with me, they work really hard and they do a great job and they help out. I don't see any more questions. I'm going to go back up here and tell you the topic for tomorrow because I think I know what I want it to be. Okay, so tomorrow's topic, the top 3 things you can do as a home-based business while you still have a job. You all know I advocate you not quitting your job, but starting something at home. You've got to turn off the television, and the things that you use to entertain yourself, you just have to entertain yourself a little bit less. I know people that come home every day, eat, and turn on the television until they go to bed. That's not good at all. And you'll stay poor and broke that way. Don't do that. So that's going to be the topic for tomorrow. We've got 8 more slots for the seminar on March 16th in Atlanta. And I am going to go and work on my classes. I'm actually in grad school for my doctorate degree, and I got classes. So thank you guys. I appreciate you guys being on here. I'm going to do the last one tomorrow, and we're going to talk about 3 businesses that you can start while you're still on your job. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.